DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk today. My guest, it'll be Dr. Casey Olson. He's a friend and colleague here at Kansas State University. He heads up our cow-calf unit, and man, has he been doing a lot of work on grazing and burning pastures. So today, we're going to sit down with Dr. Olson and we're going to talk about different things we can do with prescriptive burning of pastures to clean them up and to decrease weeds and increase productivity for your cow herds.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage.
Did you know that if you're held liable in any type of accident, the judgment can claim your assets? Please give me a call so we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways, of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. It is a pleasure to have Dr. Casey Olson here with us today. And we're here at Kansas State University where Dr. Olson holds the Lewis Chair in ruminant nutrition or range management.
Range livestock nutrition.
Both. And he is one of the people that I get to teach with. He's one of the people that I do research with, and we're very thankful for you.
Thank you, Dan. It's good to be here.
So we're going to talk about something you are doing a lot of research in and getting pretty engaged, is this prescribed burning.
I mean, that's a fact. And folks, I gotta warn you. So a wise man told me once that if you're really good with a hammer, you tend to see every problem as a nail. And I tend to sound a little bit like a broken record where prescribed fire is concerned. But I honestly, as somebody who doesn't come from an area where prescribed fire is typically practiced, I've become a believer. I did my first prescribed fire in the spring of 1993. I don't think I've missed a season since. Or at least a year since. And I just come to recognize it as one of the most powerful and rapid means for range improvement that's available to us.
Cool. Well, talk to us a little bit about the history of it, like how it got started and
Well, we still use prescribed fire today here in the Tallgrass Prairie region because of what early settlers learned from the Aboriginal peoples here. Before European settlement here in the central U.S., Native Americans used prescribed fire not just to attract game animals to places where they were convenient to hunt, but they would condition wood and timber for tool making. They would use it to cause proliferation of favored food plants. So they were the first prescribed fire scientists. And after the Civil War, when an eastern population that was hungry for beef needed a means to bring beef from the southwestern United States on the hoof to where the marketplaces were in the east, those early settlers here used Kansas and Oklahoma as sort of a repository for growing cattle. And prescribed fire, it was noted that areas that burned close to the time that livestock were populated here, shortly before movement to terminal livestock markets in Kansas City and St. Louis, it was noticed at that time that the animals that grazed on burned grass, they grew faster. Okay, they reached a harvestable age and size sooner.
So that's a pretty deep history. Do we have anything? Do we have anything that goes back that far that you can think of for raising cattle and besides genetics? Or
we do. I mean, we've got 150 years of documented livestock production history here in the Flint Hills, and I'm surprised you don't remember the book we collaborated on back in 2008. I mean, it's in that book, buddy.
Well, I know. Hey, I'm better with pictures, but I think that when you go back to that far before any of us were here, us being the United States, it's just amazing the rich history and how we continue it and continue our heritage. Let's take a break. When we come back, more with Dr. Casey Olson. Thanks for watching. Hey folks, thanks for joining me on today's Cattle First Minute as sponsored by Behringer Ingelheim Vet Medica. You know, when we start to think about breeding season and turning bulls out, the one thing I can't emphasize enough is to get a breeding soundness exam done on your bulls before turnout. And some of the things that can happen during the winter, whether it's frostbite in certain areas of the body or there's things that can happen that will cause a bull to become infertile, are things that you need to make sure. The other thing that's very important on a breeding soundness exam is we have to make sure that we don't have lameness or issues with the feet, because no wheels, no calves. So making sure that we have a sound bull structurally, making sure that we have one that's fertile and one that can produce enough sperm and enough volume with enough motility with no defects in the sperm is vitally important to making sure every year before you turn out to ensure that you get a calf crop, at least from the bull's point of view.
Kansans have a new choice for Medicare supplement insurance plans. With Medicare supplement insurance plans from Kansas Farm Bureau, you have access to 4 levels of coverage, affordable rates, and service from an organization that's served Kansans for more than 100 years. For more information on Kansas Farm Bureau Medicare supplement plans, including rates and to apply, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Casey Olson, and he is the Lewis Chair of Rangeland Nutrition, Range Cow Nutrition, and he is doing some great research, and he's even a better teacher, but we won't go into that. But let's talk about some of the conventional uses for prescribed burning. What are we seeing?
A couple of years ago, a close colleague sent me an article from the Emporia Gazette. It was published in 1960. One of the people that was extensively quoted in that article, famous old Flint Hills cowboy. Okay, well-known family. I'll keep the name to myself for privacy purposes, but. What was described, without giving it a name, was the very production system that we use most often here in the Flint Hills, where prescribed fire in the spring is followed by a relatively short, intensive grazing period that lasts from approximately mid-April to approximately mid-July, with maybe 2 weeks of movement on either side in terms of on and off dates. But that article described the very stocking rate in terms of live weight per acre that we still use today. Huh. It was specifically designed for yearling cattle to put as much weight on them during the narrow window of time when our grasses here in the Flint Hills are at peak quality. Honestly, K-State takes a lot of credit for development of that system, and in some ways they should, because they were the first to document the performance benefits. But the bottom line is that burning followed by intensive early stocking, it equates to about 0.3 of a pound of extra gain per calf per day. So for a 90 to 100 day season, you're talking about a 30-pound weight advantage at an approximate modern value of gain of $1 a pound. So it's as good as an implant, Doc.
Yep.
In terms of what it adds to cattle.
And when you start to look at it over a grazing season, over the number of cattle that are in the Flint Hills, it's not just the money, but the use of natural resources.
It's true.
It's huge.
If we did not have burning, we wouldn't get those livestock performance benefits. We also would not have a tallgrass prairie remnant anymore. Originally, tallgrass prairie covered about 65 million hectares in the U.S. We have about 4% of that left, and the largest contiguous chunk is here in the Flint Hills of Kansas and the Osage Hills of Oklahoma. Trees like this region very well. They weren't intended to be here, but nonetheless, when fire is excluded, trees colonize quickly.
Yeah, and I think when we look at it and just the opportunity that we have to promote and understand prescribed burning. If you haven't been to the Flint Hills, you need to come visit us.
That's true. But with every good thing, there are always drawbacks. With a lot of acres being burned in a very narrow window of time in the spring, we create a lot of concentrated smoke, and that smoke travels at a time of the year when weather patterns are not necessarily helpful for smoke dispersion. And we have not been very good neighbors, honestly, with some of the states to the north and east of us, because we put particulate matter and we put ozone into the atmosphere that can be harmful to human health.
Well, let's take a break. When we come back, more with Dr. Casey Olson on prescribed burning.
I had this horse. It was a good horse, except for when the wind was blowing above 30 miles an hour. Wind was blowing about 35, 40, and I saddled him up, rode him out to the end of the lane, and I thought, well, he's doing pretty good. And About 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground and thinking, boy, my shoulder sure hurt. I kept waiting and it didn't get better, and so I went to orthopedic surgeon, and that showed that I had torn rotator cuff. And said, well, we'll have to do surgery. I farm and ranch by myself. This is not going to work out very well. I'd been sleeping in my recliner for about 2.5 years because it hurt too much to sleep in bed on my side. I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio. Gotten down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 the procedure was all over. They just took some fat out of my side here and spun that down for about 45 minutes and then injected it in my shoulders, and I was on my way. It's something you don't hear about, but I thought it was worth a try, and I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Casey Olson, who's over in the Department of Animal Science here at Kansas State University, where he serves as the Lewis Chair of Range Cow Nutrition. Tremendous resource. Look him up on the internet, ask him questions. He's one of the good guys in our industry and one of the great teachers we have at Kansas State. When we were talking about prescribed burning, we left off with some of the smoke issues.
We did. So we have, there's an expectation from the Environmental Protection Agency, from the municipalities that are downwind of Flint Hill smoke, that we be seen to be working on the problem. One of the principles that I learned in my very first range management class was that if you do the same thing the same way year after year, you're going to fall into a rut. Okay, and eventually the weak points in your system are going to be exposed. Our system, as we practice it here in the Flint Hills, with probably 70% of the animal unit months that we have available, there's two things. Number one, we're becoming noteworthy polluters with the amount of concentrated smoke that we produce in late March and April. Number two, we've just in the last 40 years become aware of some very pernicious invasive plants, okay, that are not sensitive to prescribed fire in the spring of the year. Old World Blue Stems would be one of those classes of plants. The other one is a plant called Sericea lespedeza. That's a high tannin, non-native legume. And really out of a lack of other options, we decided to evaluate the potential for control of those things using prescribed fire at a different time of the year.
Yeah, I know. Don't steal my thunder here, because I was telling him during the break, I said, when he was talking earlier about loving prescribed burning and enjoyed participating, that's what's probably stemmed this deal of burning twice a year, or in two different times of the year rather than once.
It might have had something to do with it. But another thing that was kind of driving my thinking, conventionally we have solved problems with invasive plants, unwanted plants, with herbicides. Okay, and I'm not knocking herbicides. I use them every year, but there's always some collateral damage that goes along with herbicide use, where the chemical, the herbicide, gets on a non-target species and it kills.
Right.
Okay, and most of our native forbs, native legumes, native wildflowers are affected by the same family of herbicides that we would use for a broadleaf invader like Sericea lespedeza.
So talk a little bit about that, because it just seems It does not seem, we've been so entrenched in spring burning.
Yes.
That burn in the fall just...
Well, it does seem weird, okay, but what's really not being talked about, okay, is that there's a benefit, a financial benefit to spring burning. There's also a financial liability on the other side if herbicide is the only mechanism that you have for controlling pernicious invasives. So you're getting paid on one side and you're paying in on the other side.
Right.
So when we evaluated fire, it's really late summer.
Okay. Late
instead
summer.
Instead of fall. We evaluated putting fire on the ground after our stocker cattle have typically left the region rather than before, targeting at a sensitive life cycle stage. Okay, targeting old world blue stems, targeting Sericea lespedeza in particular. And we did a small 4-year study here at Kansas State University that ended in 2017. We got marvelous control of Sericea lespedeza with no collateral damage. We didn't change biomass production. We actually improved the composition of the forb community, and we didn't change the big picture mixture of warm season, cool season grasses.
Let's take a break and let's come back and let's talk about that research. It's excellent work.
Very good.
Award-winning work. We'll be back after these messages.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we're glad to answer it and work with you.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Casey Olson, and we're talking about prescribed burning.
We are.
And you kind of left off with how can we find some of the material and research?
Well, all you got to do is let your finger just Google, because there's a bunch of information that's come from K-State and other places that talks about growing season prescribed burning. That's kind of the catchphrase that you'll see in the media. It's not exclusively used by stocker producers, yearling cattle grazers. There are ways to integrate it in cow-calf systems as well. Even for those of us like me that have cow-calf pairs on grass 365 days a year. The most interesting thing to me, that project's been completed since the fall of 2017, but there's already a very large population of producers, of land managers in the Flint Hills and the Osage Hills that are using growing season burns to control Sericea lespedeza and to improve wildlife habitat. One of the biggest benefits that we saw floristically to that work is that there's this tiny little population of native legumes, of wildflowers that bear nectar. And by turns, they enrich our soil. They provide food for invertebrates, for insects. Okay, and when those plants proliferate, the insects proliferate, the grassland obligate insects. And when they proliferate, the birds that feed upon them proliferate. In practice, there are many applications for this new approach to fire. Number one, we're creating a strong motive, okay, for people to move smoke out of the month of April and to put it in a different time of the year when weather conditions are warmer and more conducive for smoke dispersion. For those stalker operators, okay, they have a lot of high stress jobs in the spring.
Yep.
They got to burn pasture. They got to get the health of their stalker cattle straightened out before they turn them out. Obviously, a full plate. It becomes a labor management issue now that smoke can be moved from a high stress point of the year to a sort of a lower stress point of the year, and we get very inexpensive control of Sericea lespedeza. The way that ranchers do prescribed burning, it costs about 75 cents an acre. Sort of a minimum cost of a fall applied specialty herbicide is about $18 an acre. Okay, we may be giving up a little performance on our stalker cattle. We're actually doing that work right now to determine if there is any performance sacrifice. But we know that if we don't use fire in a different way, we're going to be giving up money for herbicides and an associated loss in biodiversity with widespread herbicide usage.
Folks, you see why we get him on the show. Thank you so much.
Good to be here, buddy.
Good. Folks, thanks for watching us. Remember, always work with your local veterinarian. If you want to know what we do here at DocTalk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson with Dr. Casey Olson, and we'll see you down the road.
Closed captioning brought to you by VetGun with Amel and new AMA Abamectin Vet Caps, the 1-2 punch against hornfly resistance from AgriLabs.
For more information about this program or previous programs, go to DocTalkTV.com.
DocTalk was brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.
My name's Karen Cope and I have multiple sclerosis. When you have MS, on the outside you look great, but you know what's really going on in the inside is chronic body pain, chronic fatigue. And there's lots of days that I'd wake up and say, oh, please God, help me get through this day. You know, after stem cells, Chloe, my youngest daughter, she was asked by my father-in-law, how's your mom doing? And Chloe said, Grandpa, I've never had a mom like this before. Because she was 8 when I was diagnosed, and she really had no other memory of me but being sick. It's really the simple things that we do as a family, like play cards, and to be able to win at cards. You know, they all laugh because I used to repeat myself and say, what hand are we on? You know, where are we at? And it's just been really a true blessing from God, and we're really thankful.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage.
Did you know that if you're held liable in any type of accident, the judgment can claim your assets? Please give me a call so we can discuss 316-945-6733.